And the night before, I had this plan. I was like, okay, on Monday, I'm going to write about success. On Tuesday, I'm going to write about pride. I ended up flipping that and I wrote pride first and then I wrote success. But then when I was writing about it last night, I said, you know, it seems like a mistake, but it's actually not true because you need to have pride in what you do and then you can have success.
Like, this is when I give my mom grace too. Like, she was an amazing mom too, but she would make comments like that would make me feel like I wasn't good enough either. Because to them, like, you know, that's how they were raised, that, oh, you have to look in X, Y, and Z. So
I moved out in 2009. I was 29 years old. And I finally moved out because I could not take it anymore. I could not take the physical abuse anymore because my dad was still hitting me like, and people are like, oh, you mean like this? And I'm like, please, if that was it, I would have stayed.
Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives.
hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Grace from Healing with Grace, and we're going to get to know her and her ecosystem of healing yourself. She uses art, writing, podcasts, journals, meditation, and she puts it all together in order to heal and influence other people to heal. Let's ask Grace to introduce herself first and tell us, what does she do in her own words?
I'm a visionary content creator. I use art and words to help heal myself. I make things attainable because I think that we all had these like perfectionistic tendencies. And if we're so I help make things easier so that way you can do it and you will do it.
I see. And honestly, that's my type of thing. I like to simplify my life as much as I can. I think in today's world, there's so much going on and we all want to accomplish and do so much. So having things simplified really makes a difference. And that's my approach. If it's design, if it's routines, if it's anything. I love the simple approach. So I'm excited to pick your brain about how we can heal using approachable, attainable approaches. Now, before we get into the topic of our podcast, please tell us first, where does your name even come from? Well, who named you Grace, and what does Grace mean to you, and why did you choose your business to be called Healing with Grace?
Grace is what I wanted to embody in like the second half of life, living with grace and healing with grace. Like even my TikTok channels and all of that is living with grace because you know, when we were young, this is not a real story, but this is just an example that I use. For example, you were that kid in school and you were at field day and it was the racing time and you were running and you fell because your shoelaces were untied. And instead of sitting there, you get up and you run like hell. You retie your shoelaces and you run and you run, but you get in third place. And everyone's like, I mean, good job, but like you could have won, right? But then you are feeling bad about yourself. So you tear yourself up and you're like, I didn't, you know, blah, blah, blah. If I had only done this, if I'd only done this. And then later on you grow up and you like look back and you're like, damn, I did well. I fell. I tied my shoes and I still came in third place. If I hadn't fallen, I would have come in first place, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
like
really perspective.
yeah, and having that grace for yourself. And then you get even older and you want to have empathy and compassion for yourself. And you say, you know what? Back then I had grace for myself and I said, you could have done that, right? But now we look at it with empathy and you're like, you know what myself needed that day? She needed a hug. She needed a hug more than anything else because she still won, right? But she was still a child that needed comfort instead of being like, oh, you could have done better next time, you know? And
I
so that's
see.
how I want to live, with grace and empathy and compassion for myself.
So a question came to mind, and I've been actually pondering about this question. So I'm all about giving grace more than ever for myself, for other people. But then I'm also really big on holding myself and other people accountable. Now,
Right.
I've been kind of like fighting myself with this. So I am a mother of four, and I
Right.
had my kids back to back. My baby's like 4 months now. Okay. So I've been really like this past, I want to say 5 to 6 years since I got pregnant and started having kids. I've been slacking it in my own words or giving myself a lot of grace in the business department. So now my problem is I've been giving myself grace. Okay, it's okay to kind of let the ball drop a little bit on your business or on X, Y, and Z success, whatever success looks like financially or corporate wise. And I've been focusing on my family, but I love that. That was my goal, to focus on my kids, to set myself up in a way where I can focus on my kids. And then recently I'm like, wait, have I been giving myself too much grace and have been using it as an excuse to not work as hard or to let things slide? So my question to you is, I know there is no perfect answer and every case, every person is different, but my question to you is, in what scenario, in how can we determine how can we differentiate? Where's that fine line between giving yourself grace and also holding yourself accountable?
So you have 4 kids. Do you
Yes.
have congratulations on the 4th one, by the way.
Thank
Do
you.
you have help with those 4 children?
I do.
How much like, is it live-in help?
Yes, I have live-in help. My mom, my husband's mom helps as much as they can. My husband, we all have flexible schedules. We work as a community to really tackle everything. Because
That's
I'm
good.
also running my own business. My husband works for the business and all that.
So your family is incorporated and you are teaching your children, even though you're not teaching them, you're showing them this is what it can look like when we all work together in harmony with community. And your business is still growing, your family is incorporated, right?
The way you say that, thank you. I'm gonna use that as a quote.
No, because like there's so many people, and no shade to them, but like there's so many people like all they do, they're mom and they're single mom and they have no help. They have no help. They're trying to do this by themselves and saying, I got to do this, 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 and this. Well, you can't do all that because being a mom
No.
is a full-time job. And now you're a mom, a full-time job to 4 kids. And you have help, which means that because you have help, you can go to your mom, you can go to your mother-in-law, you can go to your husband, and you can say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit of burnout today. And you don't have to do that on your own. And you can say, hey, as a mom, the way for my business to grow is if I say, not right now, please. And you have grown in a way that you're not saying, oh, I'm so great, I don't need help. You said, I need help, please help me. And
I
that in it,
absolutely need help.
but that in itself is growth. People will say, some people will be like, oh, you have to ask for help. We were not made to live alone. Community is there to help you, and it makes your life easier if you have the right community. And apparently you do, because you've been brought them in. You're able to, even with your youngest being 4 months old, you're able to schedule your life such that you can still grow your business. You can still have your podcast. Where's the shame in that?
Shame, but I think that was just one example for me for the I guess the fine line of holding myself accountable versus giving myself grace. Yes, I've given myself a lot of grace saying, okay, I don't have to work as hard. For a very specific example, let's say I don't have to do 10 interviews this week. I could do one interview this week, for example. But there comes a time where you're like, okay, am I using grace as an excuse to not hold myself accountable? And my reasoning personally has been, okay, well, I'm a mom now. I have kids. I have different focuses. My body's tired. I'm still breastfeeding, right? All of that things, great reasons to give myself grace. But where's that fine line of also saying, well, but you also got to suck it up and do what it takes to be in a X, Y, and Z place, for example, to hold myself accountable instead of letting those life situations almost kind of make you Lazy? I mean, I'm not explaining this right. I hope you understand kind of what I'm trying to ask, but it's that fine line of where do we give ourselves or like a loved one, a friend, grace versus holding them accountable instead of telling them, oh, it's okay, you've had a hard life. Like, when do I not say that? And I say, okay, no, even though you had a hard life, suck it up and take action.
I guess if it's different for everybody. So like, how often do you release podcast episodes? How long does it take you to do it? Like all of that,
Just
like
in general, not me specifically. So I guess my question is in general, what do you think is that fine line of giving yourself grace versus holding yourself accountable? What are your thoughts about it? I know it can't be a perfect answer if it's not a specific person or example, but in general, is there like a trigger for you to be like, okay, this is the part where we hold ourselves accountable and this is the part where we have to give ourselves grace?
okay. So I yeah, I made this journal, right? And it's called 40 days, right? And just an example. So it's 40 days. And the other day, I was up late. I'm a light owl, anyways, but I was up late with my sister. And I'm like, we're going through the journal questions, right? I'm just asking her some of these questions just to find out her answers. Well, we ended up talking until 2:30 in the morning. I, I did not do my journal for that day. And I said, and the other me would have been like, well, just stay up 15 more minutes and do the journal.
Do you journal every day?
I work on gratitude journaling every day. Some days I don't, but then I'll just like catch up and like write it later. But I do this one. I do most days, but like I'm even experimenting with, maybe I'll do 3 days on and 1 day off, or maybe I do it on the weekdays, or maybe I do it on the weekends. For example, like if you it's 40 days, right? So 40 days is going to take you a week, a week and a half. If I do 40 days in 60 days, it's only 20 more days, right? I still did I still did 40 days, right? Instead of saying, well, I did 8 days in a row, and then now I didn't do this one day. Now I'm going to beat myself for not doing that. It's just a journal. It's okay. Like, it's not life and death, but like I think so much of us is ingrained to like hustle culture and do must, 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 must. But like, if you do it that way, that puts so much pressure on you to like do it right. And if you do it,
There's no right way of doing. That's kind of where we're getting at. Everybody's right way of doing something is different, and that's where the grace comes in. And honestly, I love that because my example was very specific to me. Everybody's example is going to be specific to them. And I'll share my story. So I was very like hustle, hustle, hustle. This is before I had kids, right? Because no little human is responsible for me to raise them and become great humans. So I was okay with sacrificing anything for myself and working on my business, success, all that. But when the kids came into the picture, obviously your priorities change. And that's when I had to learn to give myself grace and say, well, but what does success really look like? Is it the bank account? Is it my house? Is it my dream car? No, like I had to redefine what success looked like to me. And I think that's where I was happy to like give myself grace in that aspect and change my definition of what, I want to accomplish compared to what's realistic with my current chapter of my life as being a mom to like babies and toddlers. So I think I want to kind of build on that and ask you the following question of, okay, we give ourselves grace and not take things too seriously. I love that you said, okay, it's just a journal. You still did it. Be proud of yourself. So my follow-up question would be, so how do people look at their goals and their accomplishments in different ways where they can be proud and it can motivate them to keep going?
it's funny because I actually kind of wrote about that last night.
Oh,
And
okay, share.
so I write on Substack nightly, right? And the night before, I had this plan. I was like, okay, on Monday, I'm going to write about success. On Tuesday, I'm going to write about pride. I ended up flipping that and I wrote pride first and then I wrote success. But then when I was writing about it last night, I said, it seems like a mistake, but it's actually not true because you need to have pride in what you do and then you can have success. Because if you have success based upon, if you are proud based upon your success, that's conditional. And if that goes away, you're like, oh, I'm a failure. But if you're proud of who you are first and then success comes, it's more lasting. You see? Like
Yeah.
the flip
So let's talk about that pride aspect. So what does pride mean to you? How do you define pride?
to me, pride is one of those things that like I did it and no one can ever take that away from me. No amount of money or it's priceless, right? I started last year I started my podcast, right? And I have my podcast and I
What is your
am
podcast called?
it's called Ayla and Potatoes
Oh,
or
cute.
because you're my little potato. And so every episode starts with, well, hello, my little potato, you beautiful soul. And then I just remind you that I love you, and I'm
I
like, I
love
love
that. That's so cute.
because I don't because people are, I mean, people need to be told that I love that they are loved. And I don't think I'm not told enough, and so I talked
Well,
about it
I
last night. I'm
love
like, maybe
you. I'll say it back to you. I love you. Thank you for being on the podcast and having this conversation with me.
yeah, but it's like you gotta like I just have my podcast and I started it and I think as of last night I started on July 1st last year. I'm at 493 episodes
Good for you.
and nobody could take that away from me. They're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I did it." I took a 1 week break, but otherwise I record every night and publish every night.
Wow.
But like my podcast is different from other people. So like I get
How
it.
was yours different?
I call you every night and leave you a voicemail.
On the podcast?
That's basically the premise is that I call you is that there was a point in my life where I was pretty lonely and I was like, I wish somebody would call me every day and just tell me like about their day. And I wish kind of like this person wasn't perfect.
Like a best friend.
Yes. And like that's what it is. A potatoes, a nightly message from your best friend. So your best friend's just calling you to say, hey, I just want to tell you about my day. And I tell you about whatever, and then at the end of it I'm like, well, I guess that's all I got for you today, and I know you're going through your own things, and thank you so much for listening to me because it means a lot that you take time out of your day to listen to me. Then I was like, last night I was talking, I was like, well, I guess I take time out of my day to send you this message, so it's the same thing. So it's like a two-way
It's give
street.
and take, yeah.
It's give and take, but also being able to talk freely without fear of retribution. Because growing up, I had fear of retribution of speaking up because I would say things and my family would be like, be quiet, don't say that, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
And
and I think a
so,
lot of us can relate to that. In a lot of cultures, we're, especially as women, we're told to be ladylike and watch what you say and, your reputation or what people are going to think of you. I think a lot of cultures have that. And as we're getting older as adults, we have to look back and work on those characteristics that might have made us not want to speak up, right? So we have to be aware of that. So I'm happy that you're able to work on it, because I think a lot of us don't even realize that we have that problem that we've been conditioned to as kids, to not speak up and not really like do and say what we mean just because that's how we were raised.
right. And I just like it's been part of my mental health. And so I just like I leave you a message every night. And someday,
Honestly, that's it's I don't know, the word cute comes to mind, but I
cute,
love
right?
that because everybody can use a best friend, and I think it's really cool that people can interact with you and be like, oh hey, this is what happened in my day.
Yeah. And then like what happened in my day and like apparent like I just share my day. And then at the end I'm like, all right, well, blah blah, and I can't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening to me. I love you and I will talk to you tomorrow. And then it ends. And then it's just like 15 minutes. So if you miss my message, you can like listen to it another day. So that's how my podcast started, because I don't have to set up any interviews. I just set up my phone and record and boom, there you go. But that's how the podcast started. And then everything I do was like, and I talked about it last night about I have pride in what I do because all the things that I needed, I created, and I turned my self-care I turned my self-care into products.
Well, talk about other outlets or other tools people can use to heal. So that's what you're about, right? All the things, all the tools you created, products you created to heal yourself, and now you're sharing it with the world. So other people who need these tools, that they can also use them. So we talked about listening to the podcast, having a friend, journaling. So what other tools do you have, or do you recommend people try in order to feel happier?
Okay. So like this is going to be like interesting. So I told you about this journal, right? So it's called 40 Days to Transformation. And people are like, how does that work? It's a guided journal. I'm like, no, no, no. My guided journal is the first day you draw circles, and you just draw circles, and you feel like, because most everybody can draw circles. Circles are very attainable. There's nothing perfect. I mean, you can make it perfectionist if you want to, but if you're going to fill the whole page with circles, you're just going to start doing it. So you just make, I didn't say draw the cover. I said draw circles. Just draw circles. And then so I started doing it myself. So I started drawing circles, and then I left a page for notes, because for me, what happens for me is when I sit down to do something, inevitably all the things that I need to do come to mind. So I left a page for notes where you could write that down, so you wouldn't have to you could just keep drawing the circles, write your notes, and then keep drawing circles, right?
So
And
whatever thoughts or ideas that come, or like, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do that, or anything that comes to mind, you just write it down as you're doing circles.
yeah,
That's the exercise. Okay.
yeah. And then and I found for me what works is that like the more I do that, like the more I write, the more comes out. So I'm just letting you
Yeah, it's
mindless.
getting it's the procrastination thing, like once you get started, things keep moving. And I think that's probably why the circles work, is because psychologically, if you start and you're just making circles, you're still starting, you accomplished the hardest part, you started, and then things will flow after that.
Right. So I do circles, and then there's like a page for notes. And then the next page is 5 questions. And I call this like it's guided journal, but it's not existential questions like tell me the meaning of life. It's
Okay,
like
read me the 5 questions and answer them quickly, shortly. One sentence. I'm gonna pick your brain now.
the first question is my legal first name is, and I'm going to edit in the next one, but I just my name is Grace. I was born on November 21st, 1979. I was born in Evanston, Illinois. My shoe size is 7.5 on the left, right on the 8, but I actually wear an 8.5. And
You haven't be comfortable.
yes, my favorite colors, it or they make me feel. Blue makes me feel calm, tranquil, and peaceful, and pink makes me feel happy, girly, and like self-love. But these questions, like the first 5 questions, are easy questions. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of like a get to know you. Because sometimes people are
Mhm.
like, tell me about yourself, and they're like,
No, honestly, I love that. Like I've studied habits and forming habits a lot. So it's great to start easy and small and attainable. So it's encouraging and motivating for people to want to do more. So I love that approach.
yeah. And then like I leave space after you draw to after you write your answers I leave another page for reflections. So like what came up to mind while you were doing this, right? Because like, so me, the first day that I started this, I did the circles and I did my reflections, and then I answered my questions, and then I started the next journal. I started the questions for the next journal. I was like, didn't expect for that to happen, but it's like, that's how my creative process works, is just start doing things. And then it's like, oh, what comes to mind? And don't discount what comes to mind. You never know how you could use it later. Write it down. There's no harm in writing it down.
So, specific prompt journaling is another tool that we can use in order to heal. Now, who is the right person for your product? So, who are you trying to help? Or what's your vision and mission? That's what I like to ask my guests.
I am a person who was stuck in perfectionism. I was in unworthiness. I had major decision paralysis, and been working my way out of that. Um, Even when it comes to like coloring, right? You're like, coloring? Where's the decision paralysis in that? I'm like, I got to pick a color, you know? And so now I have all my markers and my number is 4. So when I color, my number is 4. My numbers are my magic number is 3, but I also believe in the power of 4. So when I do 4, I pick up a marker and I color something in this corner, this color, and something in all 4 corners is this color. And then the 4th corner, I pick something significant, right? And then I'll pick up another color. And I don't even look at the colors, but if it's black, one color, and yellow the next, like they can go next to each other, but black and purple don't go next to each other. So I just kind of like alternate the colors like that. So then by the end, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's beautiful. Like I could have just made it, like if I make a color a leaf, I can just make every leaf green. I mean, I can do that. That's easy. Or I can make it more vibrant and more colorful by making each part of the leaf green. And all I did was, so all my colors pop. And people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I have a system.
You kind of lost me at the system, but I'm sure it makes sense to you, like as you're doing it, just making a system. So, did you make the system to make your life easier on making decisions, since it's harder
Yes.
for you to make a decision? Okay, I see.
So that's why.
So how about decision making? So I know it's a skill. You can definitely practice to become a better decision maker. I recently somewhat talked about decision making on my channels and podcasts. But what do you think is the problem with decision making? Why do people have decision paralysis? Is it the way we were raised, or is it just a skill that we're never taught? Did you ever look into it since you had a problem with it?
I think for me, it's both. So the way I was raised was that, the way I was raised is that like pretty much everything I did was wrong.
I'm laughing because a lot of people can relate, like a lot of times as kids, I think parents, like they try to make us better, but they don't realize that they're doing the opposite. They, nothing's good enough. They want to help you improve and make things better, but then it becomes an issue when we're adults. We think we're not good enough. Sorry, I sidetracked, but okay, let's go back to your answer. So why do you think we have a problem with decision making?
Because we don't think that we're enough.
Mm.
We're not enough.
It goes very deep.
Yeah. So like I was not enough. So like when I think I started like on this journey and I used to get upset that people would be late. I'm like, come on guys. Like I'm here, like we're supposed to be here like at 3:00. I'm here 15 minutes early. The very least you could do is be here at 3:00. I don't say you have to be here early, but you could at least be here at 3:00. Like we agreed on, it's just out of respect for each other.
When did you start going on this journey with self care, self-love, like all the work that you're doing to feel like you're enough? Because I think a lot of people feel that way and they don't know it, or they don't admit it. So it's kind of nice that you're openly and honestly talking about it, because I think a lot of our audience can use it to either help themselves or a loved one in their life.
In 2006, when The Secret came out.
Hey, I love that. I actually watched The Secret too, I don't know, a while ago, and it was very inspiring in a way, and it was just made me think, oh, some other things might exist, some other way of thinking might exist. That was like the trigger that it did for me to make me more curious about spirituality and other things. But going back to, feeling like your self-worth, your sorry, what was the word?
Unworthy.
Unworthy,
not
yes. So going back to that, so you started working on yourself since 2006, and it's been how many years now? My math skills. I did years. Okay, so how with the work that you've put in, and honestly, any major change, especially when we grew up a certain way and we were programmed a certain way as an adult, it's hard to change the way we are. We need to put in a lot of work. Like as a kid, it's easy for them to change a certain thing, but our brains work differently when we're adults. So it does take years and years of work to really change who we are as a person. 19 years. Do you feel like you've accomplished that goal of feeling enough, or is it a constant battle and practice that you have to do in order to always feel that pride, that fulfillment of being enough? And it's okay if you haven't fully solved this. You can take a moment to think about it. There's no right answer.
It was hard because in 2006, like I was living at home with my family, and I didn't move out until 2009. And when I moved out in 2009, I was 29 years old, and I finally moved out because I could not take it anymore. I could not take the physical abuse anymore because my dad was still hitting me like, and people were like, "Oh, you mean like this?" And I'm like, "Please, if that was it, I would have stayed." We were getting in like
Mm,
knockdown, drag out fights and like bruising and just
oh,
like all this stuff.
I'm so
And
sorry to hear that. It's a lot to go through. I mean, I didn't realize there was physical abuse involved, and I'm sure that takes things to a whole other level psychologically.
I mean, there's physical and emotional abuse. And so, like, there was one time we got in a fight about something, and there was like a pot of boiling water on the stove, and my dad was going to pick it up and throw it at me. And then I was like, okay, I'll just walk away. And a few days later, I was like, oh, he was just angry in the moment. Let me give him some grace. And he's like, I'd throw it at you right now. And I was like, okay, well, never mind. There goes that. But it was like that kind of like, it's hard when your abusers and your bullies are your parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
because
can
you're like,
imagine.
because like when I was a kid, people would say, I love you. And I'm like, no, you don't. You can't
Mm,
love me. These people are my parents. They're supposed to love me and they don't love me. If they can't love me, how can you love me? Like
mm,
it didn't did not compute at all because it didn't make sense. Because yeah, there's people they're like, yeah, I hit my kids. And I'm like, yeah. Do you hit your 29-year-old kid? And
yeah,
they're
it's
like,
a whole other.
29, that's different, you know? And so even I had to overcome that where when I think I was 39 that year, and one of my friends said, yeah, one of my friends said something to me, and I was like, that's interesting. And he said, whenever I reach out for you, if I surprise you, you cringe like I'm gonna hit you. And I asked another male friend of mine, I'm like, is that true? And he's like, yeah, you cringe like we're gonna hit you. It's like not something that you do consciously. It's like
Yeah, you're
unconsciously, you're like,
subconsciously programmed just because that's how you protected yourself.
correct. And that's a long time to, like, I'm 45 now. I'll be 46 on Friday, but that's a long time. Like, two-thirds of my life is like protecting yourself and still learning. And so,
Yes, and just, I mean, psychologically, we are shaped as who we're gonna be for, until age like 5 or 7. I don't know what the research is currently, but from what I know, it's until 5 to 7. So, however you're raised until that age, most likely that becomes who you are. So, if that's how you're raised, of course, it's gonna shape who you are, and then it takes a lot of work through your brain. Yeah, I don't know all the scientific words, but I know how it works in layman's term. But yes, after when our brain is already developed enough, it's hard to change those subconscious behaviors or who we become. So
mhm,
I give you so much grace and so much I don't know, pride and for you to even talk about it and share with the world that hey, it's okay, like this happened to me and I'm working on it, and other people are welcome to work on their issues if this happened to them. So I'm not a psychologist, but I have read a lot and done a lot of mental health, and the brain is really really interesting to me, so I've read a lot of books on it. So um with that said, I mean, you just threw me a curveball, and it breaks my heart, honestly, breaks my heart that you had to go through that. I wish I could have just came and grabbed you as a kid and saved you. But sorry, I'm laughing, but it's really not
it's
funny.
true. And it's because that's how we would. Because if we know people, like, same, if you were in that situation, I would have wanted to pick you up and like hold you. And like, I had to get older and and then also like I had like my own like issues with like, so that's self-esteem issues. And then like there was physical issues. Like I grew up thinking that I was ugly. So I was like, I was ugly, I was too fat. I was, and I'm like, okay. So when I was younger, I think at some point I was like, all right, well, my family, my family, including my aunt, would be like, you'd be really pretty if you would lose like 20, 30 pounds, if you would get your eyes done, if you would get your nose done, if you would get your lips done, and if you would get your cheeks done. And I know
Yeah,
that
and that hurts in a whole other way. And honestly, I could even relate to that. Like I love my mom. She's like my number one helper today with my kids and everything too, but they didn't know. Like this is when I give my mom grace too. Like she was an amazing mom too, but she would make comments like that would make me feel like I wasn't good enough either. Because to them, like, that's how they were raised, that you have to look X, Y, and Z. So of course you get a husband because that was a number one goal, I don't know, 100 years from now, 100 years ago. Like it sucks, but all of this takes a lot of time, and for people like us to change like the course of our kids and their kids, it takes a lot of work and time to change that mentality. So that's why I give parents grace. I always say, okay, they're doing the best they can based on how they were raised. Although, I wish everybody would work on themselves. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want everybody to be as good and kind humans as possible so we can raise better, kids and make the world a happier place. Anyways, going back to your story is it does take 19, 20, 50 years for us to fix all those issues if we have issues as a kid. So it makes way more sense now that you do everything with grace, because you do have to give yourself grace to go through that. Because sometimes I'm sure if it's the media, it's other people, and if somebody says something, it triggers a thought, and like you go 5 years back with all this work that you've been doing. So I'm happy you're able to have a community and share that with the people that are going through it as well, so they can have a support system. And anybody listening that can relate, please make sure you go and become part of Grace's community and help more people, because the more people we can reach with this message, I'm a firm believer that it does, like you said too, it does take a community. We can't do it alone. And I think I learned that the hardest way, because again, growing up too, for me, everybody was saying like, oh, even like in business, so don't have a business partner. They always screw you over. Like, it's a lot of negative things about trusting people, or like being selfish and taking things for yourself. But I've learned the hard way, there's no way I could even run a business by myself. I am not great at every aspect in a business that there is, like human resources. There is, I don't know, people skills, like writing skills, social media, like all the different things that goes into a business, finances, accounting, like you can't do it alone. So I think that was the hard truth that I learned. Okay, hold on, I can't sit there and learn every single thing that it takes to run a successful business and scale it. So you do need people. And if these people are not part of your team in a work environment, in family, the same thing. When I had the kids, like, oh no, I cannot do this alone. Like, I wish I could be like 10 of me so I could be home, give each one of my kids all my attention, give my husband all my attention, give my employees all my attention. But it just doesn't work that way. We really need each other. So I'm happy that you're here and we can talk about it and build a bigger community.
Yeah, no, that's like everything is like, like my family didn't say like they technically didn't say I was ugly on a technicality,
Yeah,
but like
exactly. Yeah, but they implied it. Yeah,
it
you'd
was
be
very
surprised.
implied.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Like, and it's not even a certain way you look or you feel. It's literally just the way they are, like the other people that were raised that push that on to the next person. So I think this is a reminder too for all of us. Be careful what you say, like move with kindness, don't judge, don't gossip. Like you don't know what people are going through, and you don't know how much something can hurt somebody else that's really trying to like feel loved and give love to the world. So oh,
I mean, like even like I'm not married, right? Like I'm not married. I've technically never been married and like all that stuff. And you're like, you're 45 and you've never been married. You seem like a really lovely person and da da da.
it's like, why
Growing
do you
up,
have to make that comment?
I'm like, it was like those backhanded compliments, like, "You're really tall for an Asian. You have really nice handwriting for a
Yes,
left-handed
it's
person." I'm like, "Can I just get
yeah.
a compliment?"
Yeah,
But
just leave it at that. "Ooh, you have a nice handwriting. Stop."
they're like, "You have nice handwriting, dot, 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 for a left-handed person." I'm like, "Can't I just have nice handwriting?"
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of conversations, a lot of kind people, and a lot of self-awareness for the world to change. And I think it starts here. It starts people talking about it and realizing, hey, like we don't have to act like this. And we can work on ourselves to love ourselves the way we are. It may take a lot of work, but it's possible. And there are tools out there, like all the stuff that you offer, to help us, along the way. And for me personally too, I had to go through a lot of like confidence and self-esteem. Like whoever knows me like as an adult and other things, like, oh my God, you're like the most confident, outgoing, outspoken person. I'm like, yeah, but that took a lot of work. It took a long time and it took a lot of work. Growing up too, I was very shy, not wanting to speak up because in my culture too, like we're very like like contained, and it's like don't even speak. Like even if I would make like family posts on my social media, my mom was like, oh, what are you doing? That's too much out there. My skirt would maybe like right above my knee, and my mom was like, oh my God, that's too much skin. Okay, I'm exaggerating,
Well,
but
I mean, like, I get told the same thing, like, except, like, I would wear, like, something, and my mom's like, "What kind of whore dresses like that?" And I was like,
yeah,
"Okay."
and a lot of people can relate, and all of that does result into body, eating disorders, body issues. So we just have to do better for our kids or the next generation, and of for the community. I mean, for the young adults in today's world, because it's really a problem for even teenagers on social media, and now with AI and all these filters, everything, it's like just getting harder and harder to just be and like accept imperfection. um I have a very beautiful friend. Like if I look at him, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. But for her, even like posting a picture without a slight filter, it's like, oh no, I look ugly. I'm like, what has the world come to? Like you are gorgeous, but why? I don't know. Anyways, I'm going off a tangent. So we could.
Like, that's why I talk about, like, you have to model, like, good for your children, because if you model good relationships for your children and what that looks like, they're gonna grow up to be like everyone that I know that grew up in, like, a healthy what I appear to be like a healthy family, like, they communicate, they talk, they should show love. All those kids got married early and stayed married. Everyone that I know that didn't have those good relationships modeled for them, did not get married, or if they did get married, they got married and they stayed married for 10 years and they got the itch and said bye.
Yeah, honestly, yes, we are all connected and we all influence like each other's lives and as a whole, as a whole in the world too. So we just need to all put more good and positivity and kindness in the world, and over time it will it will show it will show the results will be there. Because when's the last time, like, if somebody's kind to you, can you just like turn around and be outrageously mean to them? You can't. Like, kindness goes a long way. It takes a lot to not be nice to somebody who's super nice, right? So if there's more kind and nice people, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, when I'm having a bad day, I make sure to be nice to people. Just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean you have to have one.
Yes, yes. And honestly, that's one thing I had to get through. So my business was in the beauty industry, and I was servicing initially like people with eyelash extensions. And I had to keep reminding myself, it's like, this client is not mean to me because my work sucks or I suck. They're just going through a bad day. Like, don't take it personally. I think that's one thing that helped me get through a lot, is saying like, it's not me, like it's them. Like whatever, if somebody's treating you poorly, don't take it personally and don't think something's wrong with you. Like it's their problem. And that has helped me get through a lot of hard situations. I don't know if you could relate.
Oh, I worked in I've done so many like front facing retail customer service jobs, and like I get it. And sometimes, like, I had, I just, I work on being not just a good person myself, but like being a light for others. And just if I can't, that's like, I guess that's like what I said, like, about my podcast is like, there's days when I'm like sobbing while I'm leaving you a message, right? And you're like, But and then there's days when I'm really happy, but that's real life, is
That
that there's
is, yeah.
and maybe it's and for me, I was like, it's comforting to know that somebody else is out there and their life is not perfect yet, but they're still going through it. And but also like I'm leaving like there's a lot of record about everything that I did and everything that I went through. So that later on people are like, how'd you do it? I'm like, start listening to episode one.
Yeah, it's a process. And I think in your bio I read, or somewhere I read it, you said joy isn't something you earn, it's something you practice. And I think that's so beautiful, because we also think, okay, if X, Y, and Z, I could be happy or I could be joyful. But that's not the case. Like you said, there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's something you have to practice to be more in that state. Now, I guess my follow-up question about that for you to you would be is, what are some things you do at moments where you don't feel joyful to practice it? Three things.
So if I'm having a like a pretty bad day, I like to go to the store and get a soda. I mean,
Hey,
gas
shopping is a
station.
lot of people's therapy. Just make
Well,
sure you
so like
don't
if I
overdo it.
no, so I because I've had to be budget conscious, I go to the store and I get a gas station soda from like Circle K. So it's like 87 cents with tax. 87 cents is not going to make a difference in your life. I'm sorry. If anyone's like, "Oh, yeah, no, 87 cents is
Not in today's world.
not in today's world, but that same 87 cents brings me happiness."
Why? I'm just curious. Is there a story? Why soda? Why does a soda make you so happy? Were you
I
not
don't
allowed to have soda as a kid?
I don't know, but it just like if I'm having a bad day, I go get a Dr. Pepper. I go get a Dr. Pepper and people are like, "Why?" And I'm like, "'Cause sometimes the only thing good about my day is that I'm having a Dr. Pepper."
It's nice. Yeah,
'Cause
it's
it's like
something little. I know a lot of people,
it's a treat.
or some people do like a latte, like a fancy latte, and that's their treat, to just a little pick me up. So I like that.
Yeah, and then people are like, "Soda," and I'm like, "Soda's bad for you." You know what's worse for you? Demonizing food.
Yeah,
Demonizing
or being sad or depressed. I mean, or stress. All those negative emotions are the worst for your health.
Yeah, so demonizing food. When I moved to I live in Texas. I'm back in Texas now, but when I moved away from Texas at the end of 2019, I was very lactose intolerant and I was gluten avoiding. That's just mm, not eating the obvious gluten things, right? And so, but I was so lactose intolerant, I had to take 6 lactate pills and an Imodium to eat 1 slice of cheese. I eat ice cream all the time now, and because when I moved away, I real like happiness healed me.
Mm,
And finding the things that made me happy and being happy in my own, and not saying like, that's gonna make me fat. Okay, yeah, it's gonna make you fat, right?
but
Or
happy.
but now I don't look at it that way. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna enjoy it. I enjoy it. And like I went from lactose intolerant and gluten avoiding to eating chicken bacon ranch pizza 4 or 5 days a week. And but like
I love
without
food,
problem.
so I don't know. I could never avoid any food. I'm a big foodie.
But I
But
did that without issues. But then I found out that something through I think Indian therapy, like lactose intolerance is mother issues and gluten intolerance is father issues. And I was like, oh, no wonder I had both of those.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Those
I
are
read that somewhere and I
related.
thought that was so interesting. I
Huh,
heard that on
that
a
is
seminar.
interesting. So is there like study on this, or it's just like mythical?
I think
From
I was listening to a seminar and the lady, it was an Indian lady, and I think it was like in somewhere in Ayurvedic, like somewhere principles, lactose and I think, and then that might be flipped, but they said lactose is mother and gluten is father, and I was like,
So did you
ah,
solve your problems with your parents? Were you guys able to sort things out, that your issues went away, or you just didn't allow it to be an issue anymore?
I think my body was under less stress being in Massachusetts because I was so far away. And I was like really leaning, that's literally leaning into my own happiness. And everyone else said COVID, and I'm like, COVID was great for me. I loved it. Like, But with COVID, I found out that I'm not an extrovert. I found out that I'm an introvert, and I didn't know that. Like I did the Enneagram test, and I was like, oh, ESFJ, and then I'm like, I'm not. I am INFJ. like I'm
The
like
things you learned about yourself.
were opposite because I was a people pleaser, and if you get away from I had to get away from all the people that I knew and build my own life. And I realized that I would always fill my time with people.
Mm,
So my house was my hotel, right? And I would eat there. I mean, I would sleep there, I would shower there, and my clothes were there. But that was it. Because I was always out like doing something because I didn't want to be alone with me and my thoughts. And then when I had to be away with me and my thoughts, I was like, I love being at home.
yeah. I love that. Honestly, that's great. I'm so happy that you're in a great place currently and enjoying life and providing tools for other people to do the same. Now, to close off, can you give me your top three lessons or top three things you advise people to do as words of encouragement in the order of importance? So if somebody's in a place where they don't have self love or they're unhappy with themselves or in their life or situation, what's the top three things they can do to get out of that situation and start working towards a more happy life?
Number one, uh, number one would probably be gratitude. So just like when things happen, I'm like, thank you. When I get a really good parking spot, thank you, parking angel. Thank you. And I just say gratitude doesn't have to be like writing it down all the time. Gratitude can also be like just noticing in your moments and saying, thank you. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, it doesn't have to be something you bought. It can just, like I said, it can be a parking spot. It can be like, gratitude for the things that you had. Because when I started this whole journey, like in 2020, I said I wanted to love all of me from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. Because someday somebody was going to come and say, like, you're old and wrinkled now. And I'm like, and
Yeah.
I'm old and wrinkled. You're mean. Like, I
Yeah.
can get
Yeah.
plastic surgery. You have to do like a whole overhaul on that. I can do any of those things, but regardless, I would loved all of me so they could never take that away from me, right? So gratitude is one was gratitude. So even I used to start with like, thank you toes for like walking me around, thank you feet, thank you legs, and I would start like a whole body like I started with that. And then the second thing I would recommend is mirror work. And mirror work is when you go talk to yourself in the mirror and you say, some people are like, some people say I am, right? But then if you are not, let's say, because people like to say rich and they're like, they go in the mirror and they're like, I'm rich. But your subconscious is like, no, you're not.
Where's the money
However,
at?
where's the money at? However, if you say to the mirror, so instead of saying I am, I say you are. And because for me, I think people who grow up such as me, like you are hits different. Like if you go to the mirror and say, I am rich, you're like, mm. But if you say you are rich and you can clarify, like, you are rich in talents, you are rich in confidence, you are rich in this. Like, rich doesn't always have to be money. And if you were to say like something, but I could say if I say to Yegi, you're a really great mom and you're a really great host and you're very compassionate. And I can see that you're building your business because you are incorporating your family into your business. If I say like that, and then you go to the same thing in the mirror, and you're like, I'm a good mom. And you're like, no, I'm not. but you know what I mean? Like something like that. But you see how it's easier to
Yeah.
accept when someone says to you, you are. Because like even when I said that, your smile was like,
Yes, and a compliment really can go a long way. So it's the same type of thing. So when you're speaking yourself in the mirror, it's almost like somebody else is saying it. So I absolutely believe the power of that. I've come across a lot of people in my life that even just a mere fact of me telling them, "No, I believe in you. Like you could be great at this. Just do it. You could be great at this. Just try. Just that simple thing of, oh, I believe in you. Like you could do it. moved mountains, and these people became like very successful just because somebody believed in them or gave them that compliment. So I could see how the mirror work can work.
I think the third thing would be working on changing language.
So the self-talk.
Yes, not just that, but like, for example, somebody would say, I would notice that I didn't say try to change your language. I said work on changing your language. So for me, for example, let's say to me, I'm just saying for me, and it makes sense to me. So like, if people are like, oh, I'm trying to do better. To me, I'm trying to do better is you have the thought in your head, someday I'm going to do better, and these are the things that I'm going to do. However, if you're like, people are like, well, what do you mean by you're trying to do better? What are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this and this. You're not trying, you're doing, So take pride in the fact that you're doing. Maybe to other people, it may not seem big to them, but who cares about them? It's your life. You have to do what works for you. So if you say, people are like, trying implies that also implies failure. So instead of saying I'm trying, I'm doing. Because you are doing. Trying is like, I'm going to try and lose some weight as you pick up the Oreo to your mouth, right? Or doing, people are like, what else? I'm like, well, you could say I'm working on losing weight. Oh, how are you working on that? I'm working on the grocery store plan. I'm working on the diet. I'm working on collecting recipes. I'm doing that. Are you trying? No, you're actually doing, right? Another thing I say is, instead of saying release, I work on saying letting go, because release is like letting go, right? But you also release an apartment. I don't want to sign this up. I don't want to sign up for this again. I'm letting it go, right? And then I work on saying dissolve instead of resolve, because resolve is like, to figure it out and like get things going, but it also means to figure it out again. I don't want to figure it out again. I want to dissolve all. So people say, I release all fears. You're kind of in a way, you're kind of signing up for them. I let go of all fears. I dissolve all fears.
Oh, I never thought about it like that. That's something new to me.
Right? Because it's language, and what you say in like words or spells, right? And so I hear everyone, they're like, I release all fears. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. But like, to me, I dissolve all fears, because the words are still spelled the same way. It's just the meanings are different. So I dissolve, I let go, I work on, because you are working on it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, Grace. And please tell our listeners your last words of wisdom and where can they find you?
I end all my TikTok videos with this. So I'll do this. You can find me Living with Grace, with GRAC3 instead of an E, because that's mostly a shout out to all my dyslexic people, because E looks like 3. So Living with Grace with a 3 at the end, on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not super active on there, but I'll show you all the info. And then I also have a website, healingwithgrace3.com, if you want to see there. And I have all my stuff on there, my books, my art, my journals, Substack, it's all in one place. And the one thing I always like to share with people is that you matter, and that you are perfect, and that you are loved, and you're worthy, and that you are more than enough each and every single day.
That's so much. Amen. Thank you so much, Grace. Again, a pleasure talking to you, pleasure getting to know you. And thank you for all the work you do for our fellow audience and everybody else that's listening and tuning in. Thank you. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.